some parcels that are not acceptable, but a lot of the 18 are acceptable.
What form did your recommendations take? Written?
Yes.
Can we see those?
I'm sure you can.
Can we have a copy?
Certainly you
Can you
can.
forward those to us?
I think it's on file with the commission.
It is.
We don't have them.
No.
What's that?
I was just asking Marge, had we mailed them to Amy, and she was nodding affirmatively that she thinks that we have already mailed a copy of all three of the recommendations from all three of the companies, as well as PEI. Having or having
On
not?
all sites?
From what we understand.
On the recommendation on the 18th?
They
Yes.
were
I haven't seen it.
Woodward Flags, it has a copy. And,
To come back
I
to,
mean, just in summary here,
I've got that sheet here.
okay, I mean, if you look at American Nukem, we've listed 6 parcels, and actually, if you look at what we wrote up, there's more than that. I mean, this is just probably the first 6 that came up.
Well, to follow up on this question, and relying to this also on what Bill's comment was, basically the geology stuff was really nothing. You had really no information on geology for which to make a recommendation.
We had very limited information on
Almost zero.
geological.
Almost zero. Okay, so there was a high priority, but it was almost zero. So road proximity was a high priority in this. Water availability, I don't think you have any assessment of what the water availability was to the site.
Well, I do believe that PEI had made an assessment of water available to the site.
Now, what I'm concerned with here is that these are kind of layman dartboard assessments of things that should be done in a highly technical manner that are really done fairly arbitrarily. I mean, I would think you would have an algorithm by which you would optimize the selection of a site. Wouldn't that be a scientific
Your
way?
own people inform PEI that the water availability to an industry would be the present capacity of your facility is 4.8 million gallons a day.
Who's
I
our
beg
own
your
people?
pardon?
They
Who is our own
They
people?
informed you of the industry, not a hazardous waste facility.
Well,
If you ask an honest
trying to
question,
tell
you'll get
you-
an honest answer.
I'm trying to tell you where we got it. I
But
don't,
they're not being honest about it.
Well, you
That
talk to them
water is
about
not
that.
available.
I'm telling you what we got.
I understand that, but
I-
not because you're being deceptive about the questions.
Well, that's the information.
well, may I ask?
That water is
another
available
question?
to a responsible.
And that is what report, is that your
May I?
report?
No,
What?
this
What?
is, this is the PEI report. It says there's an excess capacity of 1 million gallons per day. Excess
This
water
information
available.
may have come from the state, because your water plant has portions of it.
And you weren't on the ground either, were you?
Pardon me?
You never got on the ground in any of those 18 times either.
Yeah, I did.
You got out and waded across?
Oh, of course not.
Oh, of course not, all right. That's what I mean,
But
you're
I
on the
certainly
ground.
got in Granville and I saw that.
Oh, sure.
And
You drove down the road like Dunbar did, for PEI, drove down the paved road on each side, went through a mile of timberland and said, I don't see a dinosaur out there.
Well, that's why our judgment was grouped to 6 sites or 7 sites, all looking about the same.
Is this on
I'm
the
not
same?
running.
We've got to live with it, brother.
May I please ask you, if the state really wants to protect the people, then why is serious geological studies not taken in consideration first, since this type of facility has the highest impact on the environment, groundwater, contamination of soil?
Okay, there are many other factors, of course, that I think are just as important, but the thing, first of all, we could not go on any property in the state, either here or anywhere else, without first notifying and getting permission. To have arbitrarily gone around the state asking people to let us get on their property and to drill, we first had to get the number of pieces of property down to a manageable size so that you can go through this not only 30-day notification but expensive process of doing drilling on the property. If we, for instance, when the treatment commission, the previous commission, was looking for sites, geology was of far less concern to us there because there was no landfill attached to the facility. Here there's a landfill, geology becomes very important. you could put this incinerator and the solvent recycling unit almost anywhere, as long as it didn't just, the liquid didn't run off into a stream or a river. Except we couldn't put it where state law and federal regulations restricted. You can't put it in wetlands, state or national forest, all of those. There is just no, as far as my personal opinion, there is no way to go around the state and select pieces of property and say, we'll do drilling here, here, and here. You have to apply a set of rules, and we asked that we hoped that the public would contribute. We started out with the first set of rules. We had 4 public hearings, and we said, did you see anything wrong with these rules? Would you add anything else? And we considered the responses we got and made changes in quite a few of our rules as a result of those responses. We did the second set. We did the third set. And we asked the public, we asked everyone, comment, come to the meetings, write us, comment on it. So we thought we were involving the public to the maximum degree we could. We were saying to the public, please, if these are not satisfactory, tell us and tell us why you think they're not, so that we can consider your objections or the changes you want to make. We went through that process. We passed that information on to PDI and said, okay, take this and our mapping consultant and see what portions of the state get excluded. And so that was done. And we got down to a manageable number of properties. Then the question arose, well, should we go and do drilling on 18 parcels of land? First evolved to get permission to have done that, and it wouldn't obviously, it would have been an open decision to do that, and they would have known why. To do that, we would have had to go on 18 parcels, and to get geologic information and analyze that on 18 pieces of property in the state, there was no way that we could make the deadline that has been set for us and be able to select a site. That's why we keep saying, and this is as honest as I can be, that neither one of these 2 pieces of property is for sure our site. They are not. There has been no discussion in secret, in open session, or among members of this commission that one of these 2 pieces of property is our site. It is very possible when we are able to do geologic evaluation on these 2 pieces of property, neither one of them will be satisfactory. And I honestly believe that. They may not be. If they are not, we will not select either one of them. We will go to one of the other high priority acceptable sites, the other 16. ThermalKEM has just said that there were many pieces of parcels they thought would be acceptable. We'll go back to those to select other parcels for geologic drilling.
Wouldn't that throw your schedule off then?
It may throw our schedule off, but we don't know any better way to do it. If you can suggest a better way that will keep us on the schedule.
No, I haven't, but the binding element of your schedule then slips, and why is that schedule so binding?
The schedule is binding because the governor and the General Assembly agreed to it with the agreement states. I didn't sign the document, but the General Assembly and the governor made an agreement with the other states.
You had very little trouble coming in here and giving us 1 month or 2 days or 5 weeks or something. To us, why couldn't you give the rest of the people
Sir,
something?
I had a great deal of trouble doing that. You may not believe it, but I did.
I submit to Judy's question just as a follow-up, is if schedule is of such a paramount importance, it would be obvious that you do 18 sites geology in parallel and make your assessment based on that, so that if you do slip from one site to the other, you've got your backup.
Well, then,
Even if the people knew what you were doing, Doctor.
yeah,
They
even
know what you're doing then.
yeah, if we had done that, what we would have been doing, and I think the thing that we were trying to avoid, and I invite other commission members to respond to that as well, what we would have been saying is that geology is the most important thing. Geology is the most important thing. I personally believe, that what risk there is to this health risk, environmental risk from this facility, it will be by the air route and not the geology.
Well, why did you put this thing upwind for 66%?
I haven't put it there yet, sir.
Well, I mean, the location, that number 1 position, the location is southwest of the city of Oxford, 8,000 people, and 66% of the wind from the National Weather, this figure from the National Weather Bureau, right across that little gentleman down there, right across here,
If
across
the-
my home.
If the air modeling and the
Air
permitting
modeling.
agency and the air quality people say that that's unacceptable, this will not be the property. This will not be the site,
It should be
sir.
unacceptable, but anybody puts in that place, the most dangerous place.
We try not to use our personal judgment.
Let me come back to another question here. Dr. Turner and commission members, I'd like to address this to you all. Given what we heard here today, that there's so little known about the design, that many things are in formative stages, that's a design question. I don't have that answer right now. This is a task to 35 different designers of all different kinds of expertise. Questions like Mark asked, why there was no risk assessment, what about the quality control and monitoring aspects, why a firm based from West Germany is chosen as opposed to a U.S. firm, and many, and related to that, many, if you will, legal concerns in terms of litigation trying to get back at the country. Why was ThermalKEM or American Nukem chosen?
I'll answer that because of the three that submitted. We felt they presented to us the best proposal, the most qualified people, and the best record. If you'd like to see the investigations that we had made of all three firms, that's public information too, you can look at.
I'd like to go one step further with that, and I'd like to know how you can select a contractor to do a job when you don't have specifications as to exactly what you want to do to start with. Now, the whole thing seems rather peculiar to me because I don't understand what the firms are actually bidding on, other than saying, we're good, we can do it best, and et cetera. Normally, you go about letting a contract by first having a firm idea of what the facility should be. Now, I know you got an explanation for it because you got an explanation for everything, but I think that it seems to all be going backwards in this, with this particular situation compared to normal process. So I would like to hear an explanation as to how you actually went about getting people to bid on something when they didn't even have a plan or know what they were bidding on or where they were going exactly, or maybe they did, but I haven't been able to decipher that from what you provided, and I think that's essential information for everybody to know.
Well, I'll answer part of it, and I'll ask Mr. Hennett maybe to explain.
We
part of
voted,
it.
we didn't ask him.
I have in my life practiced engineering for 50 years, and it is a normal procedure to prepare plans and specifications and put them out for public bidding. In fact, state law so requires that you do when public money is involved. In this particular legislation which we were given the authority to not to have to conform to public law and to be able to select a builder and an operator through a method which was partially set out by the legislation and partially left up to us. The reason for this is because we were presented with a timetable that came out of a compact and agreement that we had no control over. And we have no control over the timetable except we are going to try to meet. I want you to know that this has not been an easy job for us, and that we have been presented with a lot of problems, a lot of potential obstacles, and we are trying to keep the public informed. We're trying to be completely open with everyone. That in itself answers the problem that you brought up. Why do you get us all upset? I don't know how else to do this, and I don't know how else for you all to react, but to be upset.
Moved to Oxford and we'll find out.
Moved and lived here in Bradley County with us.
That's all you
I'd like to follow up on that, and something.
Let me simply tell you that I know something about incinerators. My office is 1 mile from the largest municipal incinerator in North Carolina. And they burn everything in that incinerator that comes out of the kitchen. And a lot of hazardous waste comes out of the kitchen. I live about 4 miles from one of the low-level radioactive incinerators in North Carolina, which is at the GE plant in Wilmington. We've never had any problem with either one of them. We've never had anybody get sick. We haven't got any problems with them. They're well operated. They're well operated because the local people make them well operated. And that is the county operates the one incinerator and the General Electric Company the other. This is all done on trust. We have only one problem, and that is we're trying to gain somebody's trust. You've got to be assured that this commission is not going to bring you something that is going to poison your babies and put you in the grave. If we knowingly know anything is going to be wrong with this thing, it's not going to go in. It's going to be as safe as it can be. I can guarantee you that for all of us.
I believe what you're saying.
I believe what you're
But I
saying.
want to say that I worked for Union Carbide for 5 years and the federal government for 20 years, and I don't believe that people, I don't believe a lot of what was said here today. I don't believe in government standards. I believe in scientific facts and these types of things. And I know that you would not willingly put something dangerous in this community because that's not your intention as stated. But on the other hand, I don't trust you to know whether it's really dangerous or not dangerous.
Well, let me answer the fact that nobody trusts the government. Nobody trusts the state. Nobody. There was comment about the time of response, I believe you, sir. It's your state. It's my state and your state.
You're right.
Now, we're not a regulatory board. We're just trying to do an object that the legislature commissioned us to do. And we're going to be completely fair. But remember, when you criticized the EPA, and I really didn't think about this until I got on this commission. It's my EPA.
You're right.
And I've written some pretty hard letters to my congressman about the EPA. I think they fall down a lot, but it's all we've got.
You're hanging your hat on those regulations.
No,
the EPA
I'm
has
not
in
hanging
the
my hat
full
on anything.
The state is going
I'm
by
hanging
the
my hat on
criteria
the fact
document.
that we are going to do the best job we can. And we're here to talk with you. We're not here to fuss with you. I don't think any of us
No,
can
we're not
trying to
fussing.
fuss.
And we want to give you the truth.
Let me follow up on that. As an engineer, you're well aware that the NASA program has been very successful. We put a man on the moon. It has the greatest reliability of any program ever. But we had a challenger, didn't we? And when we have a challenger here in Oxford, we're concerned because it's not going to be one part in 1,070 years. It's going to be a whole county.
Well, that's your statement. We're basing ours on the facts we have. We're telling you truthfully what facts we have. I can't make you believe it.
Any
You've got to believe it.
Any hurry-up schedule I've ever seen has run into a disaster.
I think you have the wrong agenda. I don't think you need to build an incinerator anywhere, but you've heard me say that before. I think we can lean on industry and technology to do other things, but I didn't want to get into statements. I had a whole list of questions I had hoped to be able to get to, and I noticed that the time has gone beyond 5 o'clock and everybody wants to fold up their stuff and go home, but this has been the way it's come down right along. I got a $300,000 loss facing me. My wife told me she's going to leave me in September. Maybe that's a blessing in disguise. And all of these things, I've got emotional upsets all around me from my family, and I'm trying to do